Hello everyone, this is TinFoilHat334, and I want to talk to you today about one of my all-time heroes, John Todd. John Todd was born into an Illuminati family of Wiccans and wizards. He was a Green Beret who fought in Vietnam, and then was sent to Germany, where he was forced out of the military after killing his commanding officer, but the military covered it up and destroyed his records. But instead, in an attempt to discredit him, they made up a medical report saying that he was unable to distinguish between fantasy and reality. John Todd then became a Christian, and he decided that he would expose the Illuminati from a first-hand perspective, having been in the Illuminati and helped the Illuminati music industry indoctrinate millions of people with satanic messages and demons hidden within the master tapes.
I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I gotta know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon.
Every album that was released would be brought to a temple where it would be infected with demons that would infect the listeners and possess the listeners, and so that the Antichrist and the New World Order and Illuminati and Satan could rule the earth. John Todd went around to countless Christian churches spreading this message. But the more he spoke and the more of the truth that he revealed, the more people tried to destroy him. Eventually, they claimed that he was trying to have sex with underage girls. This limited the number of churches that he could speak at. He kept exposing more and more of the conspiracy, and some believed. He inspired many of Jack Chick's publications, such as Angel of Light, Spellbound, and The Broken Cross. John Todd was a true hero, but few believed him. Only those with true courage to believe the truth about the end times and the Illuminati conspiracy, such as Randy Weaver. Eventually, the New World Order could no longer allow John Todd to expose the truth, so they convicted him of completely fabricated charges of rape and sexual molestation, and he eventually died in a psychiatric institute. But today, the Illuminati is unable to contain the message of John Todd because he continues to inspire countless YouTube videos which expose the music industry and the entertainment industry as the tool of the Illuminati. My fellow video bloggers and I, who are exposing the Illuminati, have already proven that countless artists are the tools of Illuminati. Lady Gaga, Jay-Z, Tool, Justin Bieber, pretty much anyone with even the slightest amount of fame is a part of Illuminati, because, as Jason Todd explained, the entire record industry is run by Illuminati, and you must be a Wiccan in order to have a record contract. I want you to hear some of his inspiring testimony so that you too might understand the truth about the entertainment industry and the music industry, and you too might be inspired to create videos that help spread John Todd's message and expose Illuminati.
Now listen to me. This is why rock music's addicting. Have you ever seen kids that got rid of their music? They go around like this. They can't wait to find a rock station somewhere, and they sneak off just like getting a cigarette or a fix, because it's addicting. That's why they can't give it up. The rest of the conversation was this. You can't cast a spell on a Christian, but you can get a Christian to cast a spell on themselves. If you give the permission for the spell to work, being a Christian won't block it. And rock music is not just a song. It is supernatural music, that which is carefully designed by their spirit guides or familiar spirits in the form of spells.
But in all seriousness, if you've never heard of John Todd, I suggest that you should look him up. It's a pretty fascinating story. And I always find it interesting how people like him, he was a pathological liar and a convicted rapist, can find a niche within a certain milieu of society he was essentially telling tall tales to an audience primed to believe them. Now, in fairness to Christians, he, for one thing, was initially exposed by Christians. There was an expose of him in a publication called Christianity Today. And the more outlandish his tall tales became, the further to the margins of Christianity that he drifted. But he did influence Jack Chick, and there were a few comics based on John Todd's BS that were published. And Jack Chick, countless people, you know, are out there handing out Chick tracts. You've probably all had them. But John Todd and people like him, he also reminds me of Marjo Gumter. Not that Marjo Gumter was a pathological liar or a rapist like John Todd was, but in the 70s, Marjo Gumter made a documentary, some of you have probably seen it, in which he went around exposing the, you know, evangelical, charismatic revival tent circuit and basically showed how to scam people out of their money for Jesus. And if you haven't seen that documentary, I highly recommend it. It won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 1970, whatever it came out in. But there's another example of somebody who was able to thrive in that market where they're primed to believe the extraordinary, and if you pitch things in their lingo that appeals to their bias and their worldview, there'll be less questioning of it. Another reason that I find John Todd very interesting is because he contributed to the mentality of evangelical right-wing Christianity in the 70s, 80s, and beyond, and to internet conspiracy theorists to this day. And what the part of the video before that wasn't really a joke, you can find countless videos of so-and-so, such and such a music artist being exposed as a member of Illuminati. And a lot of these people, if they're not directly citing John Todd, then you can sort of see the influence. But oftentimes, I've seen conspiracy theory videos where they're outright citing John Todd. That was part of how this video came about a while back when I was doing a video on all of these conspiracy theories, and I had this whole thing about Lady Gaga. One of the people put clips from John Todd, like, and we know that she worships Satan, just listen to this guy. And it's just so bizarre that this guy who was so obviously a fraud and a pathological liar is still being believed by a certain segment of the internet that would very much like to believe the sort of outlandish things that he put forward. And I don't know how many of you growing up were told that magic cards were evil. That's what I remember when I was a kid, being told that magic cards were satanic. And maybe some of you when you're a bit older, Dungeons and Dragons and rock music. There was this big movement that, you know, to turn against pop culture, Christianity turning against various aspects of pop culture, particularly in singling out rock music and Dungeons and Dragons, anything fantasy related. And John Todd definitely contributed to that, to the satanic panic, which is a really fascinating thing, and also was the basis for one of my all-time favorite episodes of The X-Files. It has a German name I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. As my longtime subscribers probably know, I'm somewhat fascinated by evangelical Christianity's attempt to essentially cast itself as a subculture in American society over and against what they call secular society. And these views, not only that John Todd put forward about the entertainment industry, the music industry being all part of a satanic conspiracy, not only do they dovetail with their end-of-the-world views and their theological views, but it helps create that sense of opposition of us versus them, and to isolate their believers by giving them a reason to turn their back on what other people the rest of society would be considered to be fairly normal and innocuous. I don't know, perhaps a lot of you have probably seen Jesus Camp, and there's the scene in Jesus Camp where the woman is saying, you know, if this was the time of the Old Testament, Harry Potter would be put to death. You know, well, Avada Kedavra. Those sorts of people have to create that tension between us and them, the rest of the world, to foster the in-group mentality of believers. But that's a whole other tangent. It's something that not only could you write a book on, but books have been written on it. It's just a personal fascination of mine, along with things like the satanic panic and conspiracy theories. And so if you're a long-time subscriber, you're probably not surprised at all that I would find someone like John Todd to be interesting. So tell me what you think, comments, all that stuff down below, and have a nice whatever time it is.